Um, Welcome everyone. Special episodes with Chiara and Dunja. We're gonna talk a lot about many things: birth, motherhood, doulas, midwives, birth, whatever you want to call it, birth attendants, midwifery, connection. I feel about connection. um, Dunja or Chiara, who would like to start? Maybe you want to introduce yourself, say something about you. Start from there.
So I will go first and I will be very brief so we can leave the stage to our protagonist of the story. My name is Chiara. I'm a doula. I'm a birth and postpartum doula in Italy. And I work especially with expat women giving birth here in Italy. The reason I decided to do this was because of my own personal story. I gave birth in China almost 14 years ago, but this year will be 14 years. And when I felt called to be a doula, and it just made sense to me that I would work with women who are in a situation that I once was in, because um, I lived through a very, very high experience with birth and a very, very low experience with postpartum. And being away from home was a challenge. And so I decided to put my experience and my expertise to service for other women. So that's my calling.
Thank you, Chiara. Dunja.
I'm Dunja, and I'm 42 years old. I have 3 sons now. Yeah, we partly live in Italy and partly in Germany. Yeah, I was sure that this birth is going to be different than the other one. Yeah, and I'm really, really happy to share my story now because it has been such a wonderful birth, and I think that every woman out there deserves the birth like I had it, and I would love to encourage women out there to really follow their intuition. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to share my story here.
Yeah, maybe let's start from how did you. So I just want to say that Dunja last birth was a VBAC, so vaginal birth after C-section. I feel like just to share that it's possible to have a vaginal birth after C-section, a surgical birth. It's possible to have it at home. It's possible whatever you think is possible. And we know even not only from experiences of women, but also from research studies that actually, if you have it at home, you have more chance to succeed because there are less interference, and if you have a good support, there is less chance that you receive even fear from professionals that maybe are scared to support a VBAC. And the reason why we are here is to really share that it's possible. Yes, I'm a midwife and I assist home birth. I support women, even VBAC. It was so special to support Dunja. So I'm thank you. I know that can be so vulnerable to share your story. And I also think that it's such a gift for women, whoever is going to listen. So thank you. I wanted to ask you before going to your last birth, how did you arrive there? Like, how did you know that you wanted the birth you wanted? How did you arrive at that stage of, no, well, I want this. I want to manifest this for my life, for my birth, for my baby, for myself.
Well, then I have to go back in time and start with my first and my second birth. Joshua was now 7 years old, and Joelle, who's now 4 years old. And Joshua's birth was already very long, very painful in the end. It was planned to be a home birth, But then I had to change to the hospital because it just took too long. It's more or less the reason. And I think the midwife back then at that time was also a little scared. And she was advising me to transfer to the hospital, which she said would be safer, surrounded by family and friends, not friends, but my husband. I mean, it was my first birth, so we said let's just go to the hospital. Things are not moving. Yeah, and that birth was already a little bit traumatic because then they took me with the ambulance to the hospital, and my contractions stopped because it was not an easy situation to be in the ambulance. So I was in the hospital, and it took me 5 more hours until he arrived. So that was already very challenging, and I really had a very very hard postpartum time with Joshua because I had my I don't know what the English word is for this, the lower part of the spine, the iliosacral, was damaged. I could not even walk after this birth. That was 1 week of pain next to the pain I had because of the birth. So, and everything there. I mean, it was a natural birth in the end, but it was long and it was painful. And then with my second son, Joel, that was during COVID time. Yeah, I was totally sure that this was going to be at home, because the last thing I wanted to have was a hospital birth under COVID conditions where everybody was wearing masks. I also later had to wear a mask because I had to transfer to hospital. But yeah, I think I was so focused on not having a hospital birth during COVID time that I kind of manifested myself into the situation where I had to go to the hospital. It took about 17 days over the due date. I mean, now I don't believe in due dates anymore. But back then I was also scared because they told me that the water is very low, and it's very dangerous for him now. And if I don't have contractions, we have to do an how do you say, in induction?
Induction.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really challenging for me. So I went to see my midwife, and then she said, you know, we waited for 2 weeks, and I really cannot take the risk anymore. I have to send you to hospital. So, I mean, I did it. I went to the hospital, and I thought, okay, I tried to focus myself, align myself, and be calm. But I mean, it was COVID time, so I had to wear a mask, and that was not very pleasant. And having a PCR test at that time under contraction was also not very pleasant. Honestly, I think it couldn't have been worse. I think it was the worst conditions a woman could ever think of in COVID time in the hospital, with all these weird conditions. Having an induction, and then I felt that I lost the connection to my baby. There were already some contractions, but they were very low. But then with the induction, it felt like I also had oxytocin and everything. It went stronger, but I felt like my body was doing something without my consent. It was such a strange feeling, and I had no control. I mean, of course, you don't have so much control in birth, but there was just no connection anymore. So it took me a long time to work through this, and I think it was at 6 o'clock in the evening when I got the induction, and then like 12 hours later, I was so exhausted. And at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, they made a C-section. Yeah. So because they said, it's way too dangerous now, and we don't feel the heartbeat, and the heartbeat is getting slower, and it's too dangerous now. We have to do a C-section. So I think from that moment on, I kind of jumped out of my body, really felt like I was not part of the story anymore. I was like, okay, do what you want. I'm out of here. Like, it's like I had no connection to what was happening with me. And the worst thing also was that it was not a normal C-section, but it was a full narcotic C-section, because the PDA didn't work, or something didn't work, and they tried to cut me open, and I felt the knife strongly. Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, this is not working. We have to do a narcotic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 15 minutes later or 20 minutes later, I woke up, and there was my son. Philip later told me that I was screaming like hell when I woke up. Where's my baby? Where's my baby? And I don't remember, but it was so traumatic. I mean, the good thing was later that I had no problems with breastfeeding, and I tried everything to reinstall the connection with him. I did everything possible I could do to have him on me all the, and also with my midwife later we did a post-traumatic therapy where the baby is birthed again through the hands of the midwife, and I could feel and I could see that there was a relief after this, and it was helpful to do this. But it was so it was so traumatic for 2 years. Yeah. And I think I had to reinstall everything, like my entire system. Yeah, really, for years. Yeah. So this was I did a lot of work after this with like therapy and also feeling the connection with my baby and healing, just healing, no? Yeah, from that point on, I knew that this is like, if I ever going to have another child, which was also not something I expected, because it was 3.5 years until my period got back, which turned out also that because before I was vegan and vegetarian, and then I started to eat meat again, which was also a game changer for me in my personal stuff. After I started to eat meat again and change my entire nutrition, then everything was changing with my body. My period came back, and I felt strong. I felt way younger than ever before, to be honest. And then then we decided to have another baby, which didn't work out for 1 year or half a year. And then we said, okay, whatever, let's just give it to the universe. And then I got pregnant. Yeah, for the 3rd time.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then when you got pregnant, what was going on with you? What happened? Imagine that you, at some point, you started thinking about birth and what you wanted to do for this birth.
When I was pregnant, Philip was in Africa, and my husband was in Africa, and he was very surprised, and I was very happy and surprised, of course. I had such an, like, until the end, I had such an easy pregnancy. It was so easy. I have never felt better in a pregnancy before. Yeah, I was thinking of I was thinking about the birth, and I was like, for us the decision was, are we going to have the birth in Italy or in Germany, which was also a very important question for us. But then I decided, well, I would love to have it in Sardinia, in Italy, because we live in a very quiet place and very, very natural surrounding, in good weather.
Beautiful place.
Truly a beautiful place. Yes, very, and beautiful surroundings, community.
Yeah. And it felt like the island was supporting this natural process. I think it was 2 months before before birth. I was back here in Germany, and I felt like, oh well, no, this is not. It's not the same environment. It's like I mean, here I would have had my family close, but it felt like no. I think I need more female energy from the island. So when we were in Germany at that time, I think we first that was when we first had contact, Chiara. I think it was in October, because I heard from the work of a doula, friends of mine. Yeah, they told me, Dunja, you can really like also work on your emotional state. I was very, very happy that I found Chiara at that time. We managed to have the first sessions online, I think it was. And you already triggered me into some very important emotional which was so good. And then you came to Sardinia, and I didn't even know how it's going to be, the birth, and I also didn't know where it's going to lead me, but I knew that it's going to be important that we work together. Yeah. So Chiara really helped me to sort out my unconscious, my subconscious. That my strongest desire is to find a midwife who is open, thinking in alternative ways, and also has strong connection to how birth can really be, and how birth can be in a natural setting. At that time, I didn't believe there's somebody like this existed. And
you were right.
So this was actually the work. It came to me thinking of, it would be a good idea to have a midwife, and have a home birth. So this was also an outcome we worked through with Chiara, and also how I can trust my body, my intuition, and my female. Then Laura came into my life. My boys are here now. Joshua and Joey.
Hello.
Every time I speak about the birth, they always come and feel it somehow. We had when Chiara was in Sardinia, we had a talk with you, Laura. Yeah. And then I directly opened up to, it was totally clear at that point.
I remember when we had this the conversation on the sofa that first night when I arrived, which was I think it was a turning point, because there was so much that was coming out already just from that first conversation that we had in person. It was just incredible to me to just follow your train of thoughts and where it was taking you, and to pinpoint where the pain was still that needed to be healed. And so at that point, it came to me like, wait, Dunja needs to meet Laura, because even if this doesn't happen, even if the connection is not there and the birth doesn't happen with Laura, I think it would have be of benefit for you to meet someone who is on your same like, to show you that it is possible, that what was in your mind and in your intuition was actually possible in a real world.
Yeah.
And remember when I said, look, I have this person, and I showed Laura's profile on Instagram the following day or 2 days later. I said, look, I have this person. I don't know if she's available. Would you like to meet her? Like, you saw Laura's picture and you were like, that's her.
Yes, that's true. And I remember we had the call, and I think it took me about 2 minutes, and I was crying. Yeah, and I was totally opening up, and that was already the proof I needed.
I have few questions for you, Chiara, but also for you, Dunya. But maybe this question in general, we can talk about this because it involves everyone, your experience, but also in general how things are going with birth and the rise of birth trauma and medicalization. And I feel one side of the story is that the truth is that there is a lot of medicalization and lots of fear in birth. And I wonder, from your experience, even Dunya, and even Chiara, if you want to say something, how can a woman live, a woman who is conditioned, because we are all conditioned, but also, typical a woman go to the to the doctor, gynecologist, or to the hospital to do some checks or plan a hospital birth. This is the standard. How can, because you say it's trust my body, trust my intuition. How can a woman come from the conditioning and the fear to actually, how can we trust our body and our intuition so that we can choose actually a path that is right for us? Because there is so much fear. I also encounter this every day in my practice, women that say, oh, they told me that it's too dangerous, I have to be induced, or whatever. But I really I would love to have a home birth. So I feel like, what is the step to go towards yourself, to encounter to connect with yourself and leave the rest outside? What do you feel is the key?
Dunya, do you have an answer for yourself? What was it for yourself
Yes.
that made you do this? Sweet.
For me, the key was to face my fear and to understand that most of my fear is based on I would say, yeah, illusion is not the right word, but on possibilities. For me, it was
real. They're not real.
Yeah. And for me, it was really helpful to have like also like statistics, but also what's the worst thing that can happen. And to me, like it felt like I already went through the worst thing that could have happened to my body. There could have been worse situation, definitely. But I also had like, okay, if in case of there is also emergency, and I can also transfer. I can always transfer to the hospital if there's an emergency. That the end of this thought, the security net, so to say. It in the end, it really was a decision to trust my intuition. I remember this one moment when I was just sure that I'm taking the decision now, and I'm taking the responsibility for me and my baby, and I'm not giving it to anybody else, because I know how it feels to be of the situation and not to have any means or any power to help yourself in that situation. I knew from other women, and also from stories, that birth has to be can be different, and why am I not deserving this? I really decided to trust my intuition this time, and not to work against what I don't want to have, because this happened last time. I opened up for the possibility that anything can happen to me and my baby. I faced it, and then I went back to my, okay, but this is the aim, this is the goal, this is the vision, and I focused on the vision. Every time there was a thought, I took it, and I was like, okay, yes, thank you, can be, but right now, no, I focus on this. And it was really mindset programming, and I felt so strong also because of my body was working so well, because of good nutrition, lots of movement, feeling happy in general. And I think this helped a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really loved when you say when the thoughts come, when the fear come. This is an exercise also that I teach to women. When the fear comes, say, okay, like, it's okay, thank you, yeah, but go back to your focus. What's your focus? You want to have your home birth, yeah, that's your focus. Just leave that aside. Leave whatever they tell you, the fear of other people, your own fear. Yes, be open, well, in general,
Yes,
but even
yes.
with your birth.
And birth
Absolutely.
it is like a miniature of life at large. So when we go through birth, basically it's our, sometimes it sounds like a little woo woo, but we say it's like, it's a portal, but it really is, because in preparing for birth and going through birth and then raising a child, you go through the steps that you have to go through in your entire life. It's, in a so to answer your question, it should deserve a different, the episode of this podcast. It will take forever to discuss what can we do for women and what can we tell women to step back into their power. But part of it is, owning the responsibility and the knowledge that what we are going through during pregnancy, birth, and postpartum is what we will have to face from the moment that we have our babies with us for the rest of our lives. Is every day when we are mothers and parents, so I include fathers, we have to choose for our kids, our children. I choose A or I choose B. I choose to, for example, for myself, I choose public school or do I homeschool? Do I choose this or do I choose that? And I have to always go back to my intuition. And this is what we need to do with birth. However, it is very important to understand that sometimes, or most of the times, women's intuitions are just crushed by a pile of, fears, information that most of the time isn't even true, and it's not resonating with most of us. And it is very difficult to be able to leave all of that aside. So I think it takes education. So it takes somebody who is, who knows, who can bring a new light into this space of birth and to show the possibility and to show what things actually, and reflect back to women that yes, they can challenge. Yes, they can ask questions. Yes, they are, as to use a word that Dunja used, yes, they deserve to know better, to understand better. That if you raise your hand and ask, why am I being induced? You're not doing anything wrong. It is your right to raise your hand and ask questions. Collect information and make a decision that is what feels best for you. I feel that we as women, we think that it's not our right to exist and to say, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's a common question that women ask me, but is this legal? To say no, or to refuse an induction or refuse
Ultrasound.
yeah, of course it's legal. It's your choice. Yeah, many people don't know that this is a possibility, that you can say no. They can offer you something. You can say, hey, bye. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, but no.
Yeah.
Or you can say yes, whatever feels good for you. But this is the thing. If it comes from you, is one thing. If it comes from fear and conditioning, or you feel like you have to do because you don't want to disappoint anyone or your doctor, as a midwife working with women, I feel like one of the important thing is to find support. That could be a midwife, a doula, that really mirror you that possibility that you are worthy to have your experience, to believe in that dream, in that woman, in that birth. And I think this is the feedback that I always receive from women, that they really needed kind of a mirror. They want to believe in themselves, but if you have someone who mirrored them back to that they can do it, it's such a big healing, to create that in the environment that you build in your birth space, having people that support your dream, that support your birth, that believe in you, that gives love to that space, that brings love to the space, that really mirror that possibility. Yes, you can do it. I think it's very important. But this is another thing, choosing the right supporter for you, not anyone, but the right for you. Like as Dunja said, it could be looking at the picture, it could be talking, but how does it feel? Does it feel right to be with this person, to invite this person in my birth?
Right.
I think it's very important.
And with you guys, to me, it was for the first time when I asked you something, you said, "What do you feel? What do you feel?" And this created so much space, like for my being to expand. And there was no giving answers. Trust your own intuition and this mirroring. Exactly, this helped me so much. And I remember also one situation in when I was actually giving birth.
I remember I was thinking about that.
And there was this moment which is happening often at birth, and you think, okay, I cannot anymore. This is too heavy for me. Now I was in this state of, oh my God. And then I looked at Laura, and she's like, "Yay, you're doing good." And I'm like, "What? I'm dying." And then I was like, "Okay, yeah, good." There was no. I don't know. Like, this was so empowering at that moment. There was no interpretation, no giving, you know what I mean? Any answers and any.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a moment where you asked me for support. I remember this, and you say, "What should I do?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and I say, "What do you want to do?" And then I just invited you. You know what to do.
Yeah.
And then you said, "Yes, that's true. I know what to do."
It felt so obvious. It felt so natural. Like when I think back of that to this birth, I still feel like a cow or like an animal. Like I moved like I don't know, like a cat, in that water. And every time when I was, for example, trying to rest a little bit on my back, it hurt so much when there was a contraction. And I don't know how I survived my first birth on my back. I don't know how I survived it, honestly. It was, and also not being in the water. This birth was so healing for me.
What did you like? How was it for you? Do you want to say anything more about your birth? How was it for you?
It was amazing. The entire 3 days were so amazing. I think I was that on the 14th of December I was walking around the house, and I was going for a walk to see the cows to see the cows on the field. I don't know. I felt already something is going to happen, and there were some easy contractions. And that night, I was laying on the sofa with my husband, and we watched a documentary on the Love Parade in Berlin. Every time in between, I did some contraction work, and then I was dancing again. So crazy. And then that night, there were quite some heavy contractions already. So I thought, oh yeah, it could already be starting. And I think at that time, Philip already contacted you, Laura.
Yeah.
But it was also a funny situation, because the next day we found out that there was this general strike in Italy, all the planes.
The strike of the plane, and I was like, God.
And and then I think I was I was kind of working through the night, but I fell asleep again, and it was all easy, and I felt safe and preparing, and then the next morning I remember I fell asleep again. I slept for 3 hours maybe, and then I, like, during noon I realized, okay, this is going to be today. And I walked around the house, and then I walked in the house, and like the circles went smaller and smaller. And I had two women over who helped me a lot, preparing a wonderful birth room. Nadine, she helped me so much, also with holding the space for the boys, and another girl, Rauni, was also there. She helped to hold the space. So there was a lot of female power, and I remember that was, I think, at 2:00 maybe, or 3:00 in the afternoon, and the contractions really got heavier. And we did. My friend, she came, Nadine, and she did the blessing of the room, an Irish blessing. This shifted something, like going way more into trust also at that point. Yeah, and then I think I did not go out of the room anymore. And then we started to fill up the pool. That was I don't know, 6:00 in the evening. I cannot remember, maybe 5:00. And Laura, I think you came at around 6 or so, 6 or 7. Yeah. You finally made it.
Made it after waiting at the airport. And I think before boarding in the plane, which was a short trip, Philip was telling me that the contractions started regularly. And I was like, okay, that's good. I will make it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was and then I was already in this bubble when you came. I kind of realized you were there, but I was in my bubble. Yeah, and I remember that I felt so warm and so comfortable during that time in the water, and I just did not want to go out of the water anymore, because it felt so good to be in that hot water. And then I realized this transition of the baby going into, how do you say, the cervix? Yeah, the cervix. Like really going down. And then I thought, this is the phase where I worked for, I think, 3 hours with Joshua, my first birth, pushing forward and backward. And I felt like, oh no, this is going to be so hard now. I think that was when I was looking at you, Laura. And then I had one contraction, and I directly felt already the head. And I'm like, Philip, I feel the head. He's like, no way. And he was there holding me the entire time. It was such an intimate and warm situation. And then one more action, the head was out. And then one more, and the baby was out. It was amazing. It was amazing. I never expected it to be this amazing. On all levels. I remember this last pushing him out feeling, which was like, I mean, Philip said he never heard me yelling so powerful and powerful ever. I felt like opening up and really being like, oh, now he's coming. Philip, it's okay. It's okay. I have to breastfeed. Just a second.
Yeah, let us know if you need to. Ask so a lot. Can I say that your face when Noah was coming? God, I know it's your birth, but what I was witnessing from outside, it was like your face was such an ecstasy. Like it was an ecstasy. I was like, it made me cry because it was so amazing to see you in that, like surrounded by this oxytocin love. Whoa. And completely open. It felt like, as you say, it's completely open, surrender to this baby and to these contractions and your body. It felt so an honor, honestly, to be there and just witness that pure love. That was what I felt it was.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a feeling I never had before, honestly. When you told me, Chiara, your pain also comes from not going through that portal in your last birth. Then, oh, what was missing? It was really a transition. It was such a transition. I mean, at that point, I yet understand like what would mean in all levels, but like everything was absolutely like nothing mattered. It was a totally like different sphere I entered. And Laura, you were so powerful, passive. Is probably the word. Just holding the space and hearing, and I did everything by myself.
Yeah.
And I pulled away the like over the head. He had the how do you say
The membrane.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then after a while, yeah, you can now take away the cord from his neck. Then because I think he wants to breathe now. So easy. I'm like, yeah, let's have him breathe. So natural. Oh, and I felt like rubbing his back, and then I think I already had him on my breast directly, and that was it. It was so unbelievable, intense, of course, and easy.
Yeah.
And then I remember that was also so cool, with the placenta, because it didn't come out like in the first 30 minutes or an hour, but I knew that everything was fine, and then we waited just until the placenta was coming out, and I just went to the bathroom and had a bowl, and I did it myself, giving birth to my own placenta.
Yeah.
That is so natural. This is so normal. How can it be ever different?
Yes. This is how it should be.
Yeah.
And, give complete full power to your experience. Thing as a midwife, even as a doula, as a birth supporter, whatever you want to call it, that we should our role is to be, not to do, is to hold that presence of love, of compassion, of encouragement, of just be there and witness and not taking the baby for the mother, not like you can do this if it's really really necessary, but it's not always the case when you are home. And women choose home birth for this reason, not because they want to give their body or their baby away to other people. So I really believe, I'm a strong believer that this belongs to women, no one else, not to midwives, not to doulas, not to birth witness, keeper, whatever you want to call it, to
Right.
not to the family, to that baby, to woman, the father, if it's present.
And also, what I want to say is to bring this, because, I love science. I've always loved science since I was very little. And I like to bring a little bit of science into something that for our culture may seem like so spiritual, because sometimes in the birth space, they go like, oh, but home birth is, something so you do it because you want to be spiritual. You do it. No. All of this, when we talk about intuition, letting the power back to women, it's all, if you actually look at how we as humans are biologically wired, all that we do is perfectly aligned with how we were meant to be as a species. It's not
Yes.
that we do it because it sounds cool. It's not that we do it because we want
It's
to be
hippie because it's hippie.
because it's hippie, because people who home birth want to feel, better of than people who hospital birth. No, 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 no. This has to do with the continuation of our species, like keeping
Yeah.
birth and giving birth back to women and families and babies is what will keep us alive as human beings. It's very simple. And if you look at the science, as you were saying, Dunja, before, the statistics, the science, it all matches. It's a perfect match, in my opinion.
Yeah. And also, I mean, when you have the perfect conditions, which is like quiet surroundings, no neon light, no like very cozy atmosphere, you can really enter your limbic system. Your
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you survive, but you're gonna end up going like having a C-section or a medicalized birth because then your cortisol is high, the oxytocin. That's why the labor might be long, or they might give you an induction oxytocin, or whatever they do. Like, yeah, you can still give birth, of course, but you're so disturbed that your cortisol level is too high to give birth in a more natural, if you want to say natural way, undisturbed way, I would say.
And then what happens is that, you have to make up for what went before, for what went on before. You have to make, stitches, not literal stitches,
Yeah.
but, on something that could have been undisturbed, but for so many reasons wasn't. And then it's a whole another level of work to be doing the healing on mothers and babies, whereas there should be no healing if we just let birth be what it is,
Definitely.
you know?
And I know we are close to 1 hour, so I wanted to ask you, Dunya, if you I have a question also for you, Chiara, but I want to ask Dunya if there was a message that you want to say to women, what would it be, this message? Maybe women approaching birth or thinking about having a child. What's the most important, the most essential message that you want to pass to women?
trust your intuition and look for alternative get an of um of how birth can be.
Now I wanted to ask
Okay.
you about your role as a doula, also in Dunya's experience. How was it for you, and what was your role? And I feel like how important can be a doula in a woman's experience of birth in the motherhood.
Yeah. So to me, in specifically to Dunia's experience, my role was to really take a step back and just be there for her to hold the process. She needed to do her own process. We knew that I was not going to be at the birth. So my role was just to be there for her before, so that she could do all the steps that were needed in order for her to own her intuition and to walk her own path. My role for me, which is also very healing for me, for myself, just to take one step back and one more. And then when I thought I couldn't go back anymore, take one more step back. And to give her the space to do the inner work, the inner healing that needed to take place before the birth. in general, for me, being a doula is just this, as you said, women the possibility to explore themselves and to explore options and just be be there for their process and to just witness them going through the process.
Beautiful. I think Dunya left. No, because I think she has some problem with the connection or phone. But shall we? What else it's needed here to finish? I think did we say everything?
Yeah, and I think the last word I want to say is always, because it keeps coming back to me over and over, is responsibility. We cannot let's not step away from the idea that somebody's coming to save us.
So yeah, nobody can actually come and save you.
No.
Only yourself. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Dunya. Thank you, Chiara, for this conversation. Until the next time.
And thank you, Laura, for your work. It's so important. So precious.
Thank you.